Hi, this is Mike Leeder, and welcome to the Shout Factory release of Ronnie Yu's Legacy of Rage. And joining me in the recording booth is Ronnie Yu.
Hi everybody. Hi Mike. This is Ronnie Yu. Wow, this is really bring back a lot of memory, right? 1986.
Yeah. So I mean, it's scary that it's nearly.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, we were talking about this earlier. How did you first get involved with this film?
Honestly, it was a sign. We actually assigned this project because at that time in 1985 or early 86, me and my partners, Clifton Cole and Raymond Foam, we set up a unit, and then we joined DMB. And so one day we got a call from Dixon Poon, the owner of DMB, to come in for a meeting about a new project. So we went in, and then they just said, we signed up this guy from LA, who is the son of Bruce Lee, called Brandon Lee, and we want you to make that movie, write a script, and then direct it, and just for the Christmas slot, right? And
Now, what was the big driving force behind you being the director?
I think it's so surreal, man. I mean, Dixon was just said, because you went to school in England, and then you went to school in America, and you can speak English. Because Brandon couldn't speak any Cantonese and any Chinese. And what makes this experience so surreal is because the producer want to ask me to make this movie looks like an American movie.
I mean, I think it's funny, but this movie and like A Better Tomorrow, etc., it's very much, it's Hong Kong as a different planet. It's very stylish, but it's very hard to find the time zone. Yeah, it's.
I think that is one of the reason. That is sort of my take on it. I mean, I couldn't understand why, how to make a movie look like an American movie. I mean, you don't have American actor, the locations not in America, so you try to make it a pseudo American movie. So I mean, no, I really don't know how to do that. So all I can do is, and I have to deliver the project, the movie. So I just have to find a way to make it sort of like timeless.
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, it shows a very different type of Hong Kong. I mean, I remember watching this in England, and being amazed because you've got the big city stuff. You go out into the countryside. You've got like the scene later on at the rubbish dump that's like a wasteland and everything. And I mean, it's a great intro with the roller skater coming down through Central, coming down towards Lang Kwai Fong. I mean, was there much change from your original idea for the film, or did you originally begin with this idea, or was it something very different, the first ideas for the film?
Good question. It's just the whole thing was after my meeting with Brandon in LA, the whole concept, the whole idea changes, because when I met Brandon, and I told him, so, okay, I'm going to be a director. I'm going to make this movie with you. And the first thing he told me, he said, I don't want to fight Kung Fu.
Because that's what I'd always heard. That, I mean, we all expected in England and everything when we first saw it, it's Brandon Lee, it's the son of Bruce Lee. And then when we saw the movie, we all loved it because it's very it's the heroic bloodshed kind of feel. But do you think that's the problem, that people weren't expecting that? People wanted to see Brandon Lee punching and kicking. And now, who is that handsome man on the screen?
Yeah, that's me there. I mean, we try to save money. So anyway, but going back to Brandon, when I was shocked. I mean, when I first met him, I thought, I mean, he's the Bruce Lee son. I mean, he would be so enthusiastic about, being in a Chinese kung fu film. I thought all along this should be a kung fu film. right? And but he told me that he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to compare with people want to compare him with his father. He said his father is almost like God, right? And he said I don't want to. I cannot mean immediately if I fight kung fu, if I do martial arts, people gonna compare. So I said, oh my God, I mean you don't want to fight. Yeah, no. You got to figure out a way that make me look good first, and then also have enough excitement. I said it's a bit difficult because people want to see you fight, right? Like your father.
I mean, I always think your introduction of Brandon is almost like a western. It's kind of like, this, there he is, and it's a great job. I mean, as we were saying, like, you've originally been given this project, and you're thinking it's going to be a martial arts movie, and then you got to change it. Did that affect like who you chose to be your action director for the film?
Well, when he mentioned to me that he doesn't want to do a martial art movie. He wanted to do a more character driven movie, and I said, listen, Brandon. At that moment, I said, okay, we can talk about this, but at the time being, we have to understand this has to be an action packed movie. And I said, and the action choreographer is vital. So I said, why don't we? And in my mind, I thought Samuel Home
Because I mean,
would
he was
be.
part of D&B films as
Yes,
well,
yes,
and then,
that and also because of his expertise and all that knowledge, and I thought he would be great as an action choreographer for this movie, and I will hope that with the Samuel's input, it might help change Brandon's mind or give him a little bit more security, you know. So I convinced Brandon that we should fly up together to pay our respect to Samuel, which is shooting a film in Edmonton, Canada.
oh, the Paper Marriage movie.
Yes. So and I I convince I have to put a lot of convincing, and then Brandon say, "Who's this guy?" I said, remember he's the first guy to fight your father and then the dragon, on in the ring, and that sort of like give him a little more credibility. So and at that time Brandon was 19.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
He's
He was
very
very young and
rebellious.
very.
He's like wearing leather jackets, driving a half Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson. He's like this rebel, like James Dean.
Yeah.
All right, the attitude and all that. And so I convinced him that why don't we go up to have a chat with Samuel and see how things go along. And so I convinced him, and then we flew up to Edmonton, and we went on set, and I introduced Brandon to Samuel, and I said, "This is Brandon Lee, Bruce's son, and this is the movie that Dixon wanted us to produce, to make." And and then Samuel said, "Oh, okay, all right." And we'll think about it. We'll think about it. So I thought Samuel is done deal. I mean, and but after I went back to Hong Kong, and Dixon told me that Samuel not going to do it. He's too busy.
Okay.
And then I said, okay, then he's gonna assign an assistant or somebody, because I want to do everything in house, because I don't want to go outside the company to look for another guy. And Dixon said, yeah, Samuel's gonna look after this. So I was so relieved that when Dixon said Samuel gonna look after
Because
this.
I always thought you'd have had someone like Yun Kuei or someone come in and do it.
That's what I thought. I mean, assistant, right?
Yeah.
But then Dixon said, oh, 2 weeks later he said, okay, we find your action choreographer. So Mang Hoi, I said, wow, this is such a important movie for DMB, and you invest so much money, and then you have the confidence to give this project to Mang Hoi, which he hasn't done, I mean, by himself.
And especially he was very much known as a kung fu player, and you've already know that this isn't going to be a kung fu movie.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I mean, I have no choice. My hands are tied. So I went back to Brandon, and then he said, no way, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna do any sort of martial art. It's not. Forget it, Ronnie. Forget about this. It's gonna be a martial art kung fu type movie. All right, you got to, go back to your drawing board and then come back with a different idea how to package this movie. So I went back to DMB, to Dixon. I said, listen, Dixon, this is not going to be a martial art movie. This is not going. It's going to be an action movie, but it's not going to be a martial art movie. And then Dixon said, well, I gave you the project and you figure it out. So I went back and then I talked with my partners like Clifton and said, how are we going to do this? And I love Miami Vice,
Yeah.
the TV movie.
Because that's what I was going to run. There is
Yeah.
that kind of feel to
Yeah,
it.
Michael Mann. I mean, is my idol. Still is. And I said, why don't we do something like make it almost like about drugs, about
Because to me,
about-
it comes across. It's got like Miami Vice meets Scarface meets
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So
yes.
I mean,
Yeah, so that's how the whole sort of idea, come on, like, Scarface, Miami Vice, pretty, boy, good location.
because I mean, that's what I was going to ask you about your cast. I mean, your three leading players. You've got Brandon Lee, Michael Wong, and Regina Kent, and all three are Eurasians. And like you were saying earlier, one of the reasons for casting them was communication issues.
Yes, I think that's important because for Brandon, I want him to feel at home, to feel comfortable, especially with actors they have to interact with. So at that time, I figure maybe the only way to do is find somebody who can speak English, on set, so that he can feel comfortable. So I cast Michael as a bad guy, and also Regina as his love interest.
Because Michael was also signed to D&B at that time, right?
Yes.
Because Russell Wong was Russell Wong also signed to D&B, or
No.
he was with Cinema City for a while,
No,
right?
no. Russell didn't sign on to DMB. No, but I knew Russell, so I knew Russell. So I asked Russell, and then Russell said, "Why don't you, ask my brother?"
Okay. Now, I mean, it's tragic in many ways, well, not only because of Brandon's passing, but sadly Regina Kent died early as well. She had a... Oh, you didn't know?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, about 10 years ago of brain cancer. She passed
She's
away.
very young.
Yeah, she was about 30, 35, I think, when
Yeah.
it happened.
Oh, that's sad.
Because she was one of the first people I got to know when I came to Hong Kong and everything.
Yeah, she's such a nice girl.
I mean, she was always someone that I felt she should have been a bigger star. She always seemed to be that actress looking for the project. Yeah, there was...
Yes. Maybe she's too nice.
Yeah. Now, I mean, as you said, so you'd worked out that it wasn't going to be a martial arts, it was going to be like guns and everything.
Yes, it's gonna be like using gunpowder and explosion and car chase and using all those pyrotechnic to sort of like compensate for like fist fight and kicks and all that.
Because, I mean, it was the time of, like, Better Tomorrow and everything, so there was the introduction of that heroic bloodshed kind of feel. So, I mean, was it all Mung Hoi's action, or did you have input into the way the action was shot, or...
It has to be like, I have to really, me and Clifton, we have to come up with the drama and all and how the action sort of evolve from the drama and sort of like, I storyboard, and talk to Mang Hoi and Brandon himself, funny, when on set, he also like want to have an idea, and then so we get to sort of, and that creates some problem with Mang Hoi.
Okay, because, I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting that in Brandon's later career, he was very Hong Kong fight influenced and very much into his choreography. Now, I mean, just jumping off for a second, I mean, there we got a very familiar face to anyone who knows the Bruce Lee movies, Bolo Yeung Si,
Yes.
who remarkably in Hong Kong isn't really that famous, but internationally has this great reputation. Were there any... How did Brandon feel about working with Bolo?
Again, this is almost like a little reminiscing of his father, and all that. This is. I told Brandon, I mean, this is the first Chinese movie, and all these characters are almost icon, So I think it would be good to sort of, put him in and the fans gonna have a good time. You
Oh no,
know?
I mean I remember when we all got excited when we saw
Yeah.
Bolo on screen.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting cast. I mean you've got Chamoy Man,
Yes.
who's I mean just as tough off screen as he is on. You've got some interesting cameos. I mean you've got Kirk Wong, another director, turning up playing a corrupt cop.
Yes.
You've got I really like the look of the characters. Everyone in the film has a distinctive look. There's a very like with Brandon and Michael, it's a very yin and yang. Like they're the two sides of the same person. I mean, the style of the movie seems very important for this one.
I think it's something that I have no choice but come up with this style. It's almost like you're in a dead end. How you gonna come out a winner? So I think style is one thing, almost like the saving grace.
Yeah.
You know,
Because I mean, how long did you have to film the movie? How long were you shooting for?
we didn't. I mean, I thought when we started we're gonna have a bit of time. But then all of a sudden after we started filming, and then we got this instruction say, all right, we're gonna release it in Christmas.
Oh,
Which
so you
is
were rushed into it.
very rushed. So we sometimes we had to split up the team. So Clifton Cole would have to split up and then take care of some scenes, and I have to taking care of some scenes, and otherwise we won't be able to finish it.
I mean, I always think that's remarkable in Hong Kong of how often movies sometimes were being shot with that. I remember being on the set of an Andy Lau movie, and he was telling me that they were going to premiere two weeks later, and being on the set of Wong Fei Hung 2, and within a week the movie was premiering and everything.
Yeah, yeah. That those days is almost like the practice. Everybody's like dying to meet that release day, because it's very difficult to get a good release.
I mean, it's funny, especially because I mean back then you had the D&B circuit, like Dixon had his own cinemas. I mean, you've done a lot of movies in the West now. How different did you find the systems, the American system and the Hong Kong system? Was it easy for you to adapt?
I think it's the big difference is preparation and the script. In Hollywood, the script is everything. You got to have not a perfect script, but at least a full script before you start production. But in Hong Kong, is maybe you only have a storyline, then you start production.
Because that's the thing. I mean, it's sometimes I've always felt that was the thing with Hong Kong movies. It's one of the things I love, but also sometimes confuses me that you'll watch a movie and there's four different genres in there, and it's a serious love story. Then there's a kung fu battle for no reason, or a gunfight that you sometimes wonder, is it just to satisfy the distributor? And
Right. And I remember when I first worked in Hollywood, and that's the first thing that John Woo was telling me, that he said, "Oh, Ronnie, we are very good at mixing genres. In our movies, we don't really know, there's no one such thing as one genre. We put everything in. You cry, you laugh, you scare, and then you get thriller, action, everything. We put everything in. It's almost like a chop suey, you know." And but he said in America, they you can't do that. I mean, you stick if you're doing one genre, you gotta make sure that all the drama, everything developed, under that sort of requirement. You cannot like mix and match.
Another thing I like about this movie is you really did choose some locations that weren't as familiar as a lot of Hong Kong movies were using. Was that also something you were very specific about to try and give it a different feel?
Yes, because I try to make it doesn't look like a Hong Kong movie. I try to make an American movie. So I try to find location. I told the art director, I said, find location that you don't see too much in the Hong Kong movies.
So I mean, you were shooting mainly English dialogue for the main cast,
Yes,
and then
yes. I will ask him to, okay, you can speak English, but the last word try to be Chinese. So When I dub it in Chinese, is make the dubbing artist a lot easier.
Okay, because I think that's something that people don't realise, that for so long Hong Kong movies were shot non-sync,
Yeah.
and that even Jackie and Samo had like professional voice artists for them. You know, do you think that was a benefit or a deficit?
It's it's the how do you call it? It's the inborn problem because of the locations, because of the shooting environment. I mean, you can't really have a soundproof environment. So I mean that almost like a necessity that in order to finish the movie, that you cannot shoot sing sound.
Because I mean that was something when I first came to Hong Kong. I realised Hong Kong is so noisy,
Yeah.
and you do realise just how hard it is. But it also made me appreciate how good Hong Kong actors can be, because I've been on set where you're filming a very intense scene and 10 feet away someone's hammering away
Yeah.
and building the set or doing something.
And also another factor is compensate from not a finishing script, because sometimes the dialogue is not ready yet, so they can just say whatever 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then later on the director will sort of figure it out how to match it with the words, you know.
Now, I mean, to flick off the idea for a moment, what was your original concept for the film? Was it going to be a modern day, or was it going to be... what was your original idea? Because that's something I don't think anyone's ever really heard.
Really, and nobody really. Yeah, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, it's really sort of. I try to make it look like Miami Vice. So it's sort of that's sort of like you don't know. I mean, this is not Miami, of course, but that stylized sort of location. You don't the buildings, the setting, all that is not really. I mean, you can't just pinpoint it. Oh, this is Thailand, or this is Hong Kong. This is it's just non. You don't know. You don't know. This is somewhere. You know.
But I mean, it's such... Oh, sorry, I just love the car stunts in this. I mean, the cars are just getting wrecked. I mean, how did you find Brandon adapting to doing choreography? You said he wanted to have some input, but did he adapt to it easily, or did you have to double him a lot, or...
Well, I have to sort of because I know that he's not going to do martial art. So I told Mang Hoi, I said, we got to prepare ourselves, all right? So find me a good double who's very good with fists. And find me a good double who's very good with kicking. And find me a double for Brandon who's very good at stunt, like falling off building and all that. So just stand by, in case Brandon didn't want to do it. Didn't want to throw that punch or didn't want to do that, then I can use a double to do it. So it takes a lot of convincing and talking, and after the shoot I'll have a drink with Brandon and just talk about life.
Okay.
Really, not about I told Brandon, listen, you have so much anger in you, and then you told me that you don't want people to compare you with your father, but the fact is, without your father you won't be here making this movie and then getting so much money, so you have to come to terms with that. You have to, because the fact of life is we all sign up to do this movie, and we have to deliver a movie. And then this movie is not just you and I. There's a lot of fans around the world, have their eyes on this movie. We cannot fail or feel like fake.
Yeah.
So I have to do a lot of stuff. I play different role. I play the director, I play the father-in role, I play the psychologist, I play the school teacher, all that. Try to. He has so much rage. You see, the name, Legacy of Rage.
Yeah.
He came up with it.
Okay, because I was going to ask about that.
Yes, Brandon came up with it because I said, okay, how I got to think of an English name for this movie, and then we got to talk, and then we talk about the inner rage, talk about the anger. He told me his father also has has a lot of rage, had a lot of anger. I said, oh, good. I said, why don't we? So it's legacy. So it's continuation of a legacy. He said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so, how would you put in English this legacy and they said, oh, just why don't we just call it legacy of rage?
Because it's such a good title, and it suits the movie perfectly. And yet it does. From talking to people who work with Brandon, like both in Hong Kong, and I've spoken to guys from America who work with him, they all say the same thing. He had a lot of rage, and there was a lot of. He had that pressure from. It's like Jackie's son, of growing up with people constantly being, who's this, who's your father? And I remember talking to Brandon, and he said like, he had that experience of stunt guys, telling him, or, like Dick Way, I wanted to fight your father, but I couldn't, and now I want to fight you. And I think,
Yes, I can understand it. I can understand why he has all this rage because he want people to take him as he is. I'm Brandon Lee. I'm not Bruce Lee. I mean, even though my surname is Lee, he loved acting. I mean, he really went to school, acting school and all that. He just want to show people that, I'm an actor first, and then I'm a martial artist, second, rather than I'm a martial artist, maybe not a good actor,
Yeah.
and then that's sort of that demon, so that struggle inside of him, he's
'Cause
fighting.
I always thought it was strange that it he returned to America, and that's when he kind of embraced who he was, and okay, I'll do the martial arts, I'll do the action films. Because if you read his later interviews, he was very, okay, I'm aware of my father's name and how that's helped me. But like we were saying, maybe he was just too young or too.
I think youth has a lot to do with it, and then because of this, not really the resentment, but that insecurity of having people compare him with his father, and that sort of attitude, that insecurity came off to the Chinese, to the Chinese crewmen or the stunt guys thought that he's too arrogant, and he's too like even somebody was telling me oh, is he a racist? Is he racist against Chinese? That sort of thing. I said no, 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 no. He's just a young kid. He has a lot of baggage. He's total. I mean, it's a communication. If he can speak Chinese, Cantonese, I'm sure there's no problem. You know.
Because I think that's the thing. I mean, people forget that if from in the 20 odd years I've been in Hong Kong, there's still a lot of people in the film industry who don't speak English, and to realize that it's like you've got someone like Brandon back in the 80s where maybe it's like, apart from you and maybe Michael Wong and one or two other people on the set, he couldn't communicate with anyone, and
No.
it is that a lot of pressure. And like you said, as we both know, there's sometimes a thing where if I say it in bad Cantonese or you say it in bad English, the meaning can seem much more
Totally
aggressive,
wrong.
or
Yes, miscommunication, misunderstanding,
that
arises.
because it could be that someone's saying, "Oh, I respected your father," but if their English isn't good, it came across as instead of your father was a great fighter, I wanted to fight your father. Now I want to fight you. I mean, it's such a bad situation now. I mean, even your choice of locations, like like we said, it's very stylized. I never saw this location in another Hong Kong movie. Was this a set or was it a real?
This is just a set.
Okay.
This is a set.
Bec-
Everything like the art direction, the casting, all the action, the design, the action, or the car crash, everything. I just want to make it a little bit larger than life, to make it more sort of, in a way, pretty,
Yeah.
so that it's not just looking at the action. You're looking at everything, the character, the set, the costume, or the car chase. I still looking back, I thought the car chase is tremendous, in this movie.
Oh no, I mean it
Yeah.
holds up. As I said, it
Yeah.
holds up so well.
Yeah.
It's very visceral. It's very. You feel for the character. You know everyone. You know this is real. It's not CGI. It's.
Yes.
So
We don't have CGI then. Yeah.
I mean, Do you find that was something when you went to Hollywood that was strange? Well, the level of safety in the West as opposed to sometimes in Asia, the safety precautions and the
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is how I would compare this. Like doing a movie in America, a director, all you need to do is to come up with the idea, and then there will be 2,000 people try to help you to get that idea, you know, delivered. So you have a specialized people, that help you realize your idea, right? Hong Kong, a director come up with the idea, you better damn well you yourself know
how to do it.
how
Yeah,
to do it. Otherwise, then nobody would can help you.
because
You know.
I really like the gunplay action in this movie, but I never saw Mung Hoi do anything like it again, and it always made me feel that you must have had a lot of input into the style of it because it's stylized without being John Woo style. It's got a very unique kind of feel to it.
Yes, yes, good that you mentioned that. So that I purposely write down in my diary. I said, don't copy John Woo, because the fans will spot it,
Yeah.
and then you are dead. So this is almost the motto, that because John Woo is such a big sort of the style,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I love the fact that even the weather plays a role in the movie. Like, now things have taken a turn for the bad. I mean, Kirk Wong's just fantastic. Now, with someone like Kirk Wong, did you hire him because he was a director and a friend of yours, or was it you felt he could really bring something to the role, or...
Uh, well, I know of him as a director. We're not friends or anything, just fellow director. But his face came off as a bad guy. I mean, it's such a cynical bad guy, you know.
Oh, no,
So
I mean, I remember when I first met him at Golden Harvest, I went up to visit the location of Crime Story, and he was there. And I recognized him exactly from playing a thug in so many movies. And then, bizarrely, we both went to the same college in England. And I happened to be wearing a Croydon College T-shirt. And he was like, oh, I recognize that. And we got chatting. And then he told me he was Kirk Wong. And I was like, but you're a dumb thug. you know? And he's such an intelligent guy, but it's like he's got that very thuggish, very...
he does, and then he's sort of like this, don't f with me, that sort of attitude, you know.
Yeah. I mean, even that you use specific Hong Kong locations like the Jumbo, but really the Jumbo's the only super iconic Hong Kong location you use in the movie. You didn't fall into the, okay, I must have a junk going past, I must have a rickshaw, I must have, you didn't make it look, this is an American look at Hong Kong. It's got an American feel, but it's still got a Hong Kong feel to it. You know what I mean? It's
To be honest, Mike, going back now, sort of like bring back all the memories, like looking back, I just have to, because I couldn't get help from anybody making this movie. All my instructions to make it doesn't look like a Hong Kong movie, make it look like an American movie. So all I can do is to believe in myself. I said, okay, Ronnie. I mean, you watch so many, movies, and then you love reading all those comic books, and all the Batman, Superman, all that. All right, create your own style. Create a world that you feel like is good, is appropriate, it's good to look at, good for the eye, and even all the technique like editing. You don't have to go the same. Everybody's cutting this way. You don't need to show from A to B. Like you just go from A to C.
okay.
You know,
'Cause
all that I'm trying to like make it a little bit different. Just follow my heart. If I feel that I don't need to show people the in between, fine.
I mean, it's funny because like with this, I mean, you've got the character played by Mandat,
Yeah.
and now everyone just immediately associates him as a comedian and everything. And it's funny to see the way in Hong Kong cinema, especially certain people were like jobbing actors for so long, then suddenly they got a character that became their thing. I mean, with Mandat, for instance, I mean, he was always playing this kind of character before Jiao Chi teamed up with him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, in a way, that's sort of like demand for me to make it look like American film. So, in a way, sort of like uh, inspire me to be confidence in myself. Because okay, I just believe in myself. I don't need to copy this or copy that. Yeah.
Now, I mean, for the prison scenes, I said, I mean, where, was that shot at a real prison or was it?
Huh. Very interesting. We have all the pyrotechnic that in the movie and all the weapon, all that. I rented from an UK company.
Okay.
Okay, and the guy that in charge of the pyrotechnic or the explosion, all that, called Alan, and hiring him have so much other benefit than just the movie, producing the movie. I mean, because he's English,
Yeah.
talking to the Royal Hong Kong Police, and then talking to the British Army. There's a communication connection there, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of easier,
Yeah.
right, to get the point across. So we get a lot of cooperation from the Royal Hong Kong Police and the British Army. Now, all this prison scene was shot in a little island called Stonecutter Island.
Oh, okay. I always
Yeah?
wondered that.
It's like on the northwest side of Hong Kong, right? You have to take a boat to get there.
Because that's where the British Army kept all the explosives and everything.
Exactly, all the commercial. And because Alan cannot bring in explosive, right? And then he don't think, because, and after listening to my demand, he think that the local explosive maybe not enough, not powerful enough. So he said, well, if I can bring in the UK explosive or from the army, that would give you that effect. So he said, but I can't bring it in. So he said, okay, let me talk to the British Army here.
Okay.
Right? And so because of experience, and he has a license, handling explosive and all that, so I can be able to get. That's why all the explosion is so fantastic, because
they're so much bigger and they're...
Yes, we use real TNT. We use real TNT, and then and that's why it looks, because at those days you cannot sort of CG it, like enhance it. The fireball, you cannot enhance it, so it has to be big. It has to be big. So, it's like every time when we shoot, we shot all the car explosion, all the chasing in Saigon.
Okay.
It's like almost the entire place is shaking. It was fun. It was exciting.
Now, with regards to Meng Hoi, I mean, did Meng Hoi and Brandon get along, or was it awkward for them because of communication, or?
It's a bit awkward. So I have to step in lots of time, sort of as the middleman, sort of explaining, everything, and.
Because it's funny, because the relationship on screen works so well with them.
Yes.
And I mean, and with Meng Hoi, it's always been funny for me that he speaks a certain amount of English when he wants to, because his relationship with Cynthia Rothrock.
Right.
Yeah, I was always like, you can't tell me you don't speak English. You dated her for such a long time. But he seems very much, if the mood takes him, he'll speak English. If the mood doesn't, because many a time I've caught up with him, and depending, if he's happy, if he's sad, he'll speak.
What I find interesting and very sort of like I couldn't understand it too is also the psychic of people on set, and everybody sort of like don't want to get close to Brandon Lee because they don't want to feel like they suck up on Bruce Lee's son. For me, I don't understand that's where it's come from. Why is it like that? Because everybody thought, if I sort of get close to Brandon, and then people might say, oh, you suck up, all that to Bruce Lee's son, So I think that's something I don't understand, happening on set,
And I'm sure as well for Brandon that must have confused him as well. That he probably felt, why is everyone being standoffish to me?
Yes, especially the Hong Kong stunt guys.
Yeah.
They just thought somehow I don't know.
Because I remember, because Stanley Tong did some doubling on this, Dong Wai Lai, then Ken Lo as well, Lo Wei Gong.
Yes.
And I remember Stanley Tong saying, because he could speak English, he could talk to Brandon. But he said the same thing, that everyone else was very distant,
Very, yeah, purposely distance. I feel so strange. I mean, I feel so strange, and because of that, that makes an actor feel so insecure and so uncomfortable,
And especially when
you
you're
know.
doing action, because you
Yeah,
want, like from working with you or pings and everything, you want that level of trust where you know, okay, if I fall, I know this guy's going to catch
yes,
me. I know this guy's not going to hit me for real.
yes.
You don't want to be in that situation where you're going, he doesn't want to talk to me, I don't want to talk to him. Anything could happen.
Yes, I think that's why the language is such an important factor, and because we shoot non-stop, almost non-stop, and everybody tired and all that. That may be contribute to it, but I think the bottom line is not just Brandon that's sort of like carrying this Bruce Lee's burden. It's
But
so
almost like
funny
the
that
crew are carrying
everybody,
it, yeah.
yeah, all the stunt people, not the other cameraman or the no, it's just the stunt people in Hong Kong. Maybe I don't know. It's maybe it's Bruce Lee is so sacred,
I think that's
you
the
know.
because I remember years ago talking to Jackie Chan about that, and he said no matter what he does, he's like, mate, Bruce Lee's like James Dean. He died at the peak.
Yeah,
So he goes, whatever I do is always compared to Bruce Lee.
yeah,
I remember years ago interviewing Ken Lo,
yeah.
and Ken Lo was upset because he'd just been interviewed by an American martial arts magazine, and their first question had been, did you know Bruce Lee? Did you know? Yeah, and he was like, I was 10 years old when Bruce Lee died. It's, like we said, there's such a burden.
Yeah, I think everybody have this huge expectation probably among the stunt people. They want Brandon to be like, almost like have the same spirit as his father.
And I think
In
exactly,
regard to Chinese kung fu, in regard to like Chinese kung fu and
yeah.
all that, and then all of a sudden you have this like 19 years old kid, like this rebel come in
And he
and
doesn't speak Chinese, and
doesn't
he's
speak Chinese,
very,
doesn't really want to learn Chinese. It doesn't, in a way, this kid doesn't reach out for them, for to understand more about Chinese kung fu.
because that's the
You
thing
know.
I always wondered, especially with a lot of the stunt guys, how easy it is for them to feel disrespected or
Yeah.
feel like when we did the Mummy, there was a British Chinese stunt guy, and he only has an English name, so I knew him, but nobody else knew he was Chinese, and when he arrived, all the Chinese stunt guys suddenly were like, who's this Chinese guy? Where did he come from? Oh, and he doesn't speak Chinese, because the stunt guy was adopted when he was a kid, so the stunt guy is probably the most English guy you'll ever meet, but he looks like Jackie Chan, and a lot of the stunt guys immediately dismissed him because, well, he doesn't speak to us, and I was like, he doesn't speak Chinese. He was born and raised in England. It's not necessarily he's avoiding you. It's just he can't communicate,
That's right.
and
That's
he
right.
doesn't have those people skills.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he would like some of the other stunt guys were like, okay, mate, everyone smokes. I guess I should smoke a cigarette. This guy was very, I can't talk to them. They can't talk to me. Okay, I'll ignore them. It's
Yes, yes. So I like throughout the making of this movie, I keep sort of like talk to Brandon. I said, listen, Brandon, sometimes, you have to, even though you know that he don't understand you, talk to him.
yeah.
That he can so that make people feel comfortable.
I mean, when we were doing the Mummy, Vic Armstrong was like, mate, why are you always smoking? I said, because we're in China. I said, it's easier to bond with people, go and have a cigarette. Like, working with Yuen Ping, he doesn't care if you don't smoke. If he wants a cigarette, he expects you to have it. And I found that's the thing, that in Hong Kong and China,
Yes, also
Yeah.
the cultural differences. Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
So it's not a very easy movie to make. It was.
because I mean, especially for you, I mean, I'm thinking, you're not only directing, but you're, like I said, you're
Yes.
being the father figure, you're being a psychologist, and then you're also having to go off and deal with your crew and also make sure they're not overreacting to Brandon or,
Yes, every time, even though when we sort of split teams, I always get calls from the second team saying, "Oh, Ronnie, we can't shoot anymore." I said, "Why? We're gonna beat up Brandon. We're gonna beat him up right now. We're gonna smash his head in because his attitude is too arrogant." I said, "Hold on." So it's like things like that.
yeah.
Not just Brandon, but also the team, the crew.
Well, I think that's the thing. I mean, on True Legend, we had it where one of the Western fighters, his attitude really rubbed a lot of Yuen Ping stunt team the wrong way. And at one point, they were like, mate, we could kill him.
Yeah.
You know? And they were like, we could build an empty rig and have him fall down. And I was like, how about we just kill him off in the movie and then he'll leave and then we can keep filming? Yeah. I mean, now with Regina, flicking back to Regina, as we said, she was always one of those people who seemed on the verge of being a bigger star. How did you find her to work with?
Actually, it was introduced by an assistant director. I just told him, I said, I need somebody, actress that can speak English. I mean, not just English, but good English, so that she can really communicate with Brandon. And then we've been looking everywhere, and then almost like before filming, this assistant director said, okay, I have this girl who shot some commercials, haven't done any movies. You want to interview her and see if you can do it. So I met with her, have a talk with her, and then she's a very smart girl. Even though she hasn't done any movies.
I mean, was there any pressure from D&B or anyone to put in a name actress opposite?
No.
Okay, because I was always surprised.
No, because my first requirement is that got to speak English with Brandon at that time.
Because I'm just thinking, I mean, at the time, probably like Maggie Cheung would have been the only other one.
Yeah. But I don't think at that time any known sort of like established actress want to work with Brandon, because everybody's like afraid that it would be a Brandon Lee movie anyway.
I think that's the thing, like we're saying, it's that awkward situation where people either think it's going to be like a Bruce-sploitation and cash in, and people are just going to dismiss the movie for that.
Oh, absolutely.
That everyone's just going to be looking at him. Nobody's going to be looking, if you put Sir John Gielgud or you put Samuel L. Jackson in there, people go, yeah, but I know they're good, I want to see...
I think that's one of the reasons why he assigned this project to me, because nobody want to touch it.
But I mean, it's like I said. I mean, it's funny because the chemistry between Meng Hoi and Brandon on screen comes across so well. Now, with regards to some of the stuff like this, was originally something like this fight scene meant to be a bigger scene, or was it because Brandon Lee's bursts of physical action are very very short. The gunfights are long, but when he does get to fight, it's
anything that deal with fist fight. He need to keep it to the minimum.
Because the boxer is one of his friends, right? I think
Yeah. And this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'd always wondered, because there's so many people I know in the cast, and just they all said that was the thing that it seemed like he was reluctant to try anything. One, to be judged, and two,
he doesn't want to give out a hint, even a slight hint that resemble his father's fight, the style of his father's fight. So any blocking, any punching has to be. It's not Bruce Lee move.
Yeah.
It's not Bruce Lee move. It's not Bruce Lee's move.
Because I mean, that was the thing when we did that Enter the Eagles movie with Shannon, Yung Kwai, I think too many times had her trying to do Bruce Lee mannerisms. Like she flicks the nose, she does, and he made it. He tried to play it very serious. If he'd done it as a joke, I think it could have worked, but. It's one of the things where you realise there's certain moves that Bruce Lee did that Bruce Lee can carry off. Nobody else can because it's so identifiable. Yeah. Now, I mean, when you were shooting, what was your shooting schedule? Was it a 30-day shoot or a 60-day shoot? Any idea?
I lost count.
Okay.
It's like shooting like 75 hours, strict, no sleeping. It's like crazy because I was young then, it's just sort of like energy you can. And
Ronnie, I'm fearless. We still did some long hours.
Yeah, but I think looking back, if I want to do this movie now, probably I would. There's a lot of situation, a lot of misunderstanding that I can sort of like handle it better, or
because
I'll be a better psychiatrist than like this 20-some years ago.
Because this was about your fifth or sixth movie, and you'd never really done an action movie yourself before this, so
no, like this big scale sort of like act. No, never. So for me, it's a huge undertaking. But then I cannot let my frustration or can let my insecurity show because everybody's already insecure.
Well, I
You
think
know,
that's the thing. If the captain of the ship
yeah.
loses it, we're all dead. It's,
Yeah. So, but what helped me a lot is the in the editing room, because at that time the guy that edited this film who edited my first film, and he's a veteran, like he cut all the Shaw's Brother action movie, and with him sort of like giving me the security blanket, so to speak. That's sort of like, okay, Ronnie, it's fine. Okay, I said, I always worry about the tempo, and the pacing. Is it too slow? Is it too? Is that people get it? With him around, that's sort of he would tell me that's fine, it's fine, or you're missing something. You go back and cover it. That sort of really helped me a lot.
because that's something I've always found. I mean, you've done a lot of work with David Wu as an
Yeah,
editor,
yeah.
and it always seems like he's one of those guys who completely understands action and what you're going to need, how to change the tempo, how to save a shot almost.
Yes.
Do you think that's something that a lot of directors don't realize the
I
importance
think I
of?
think the important because before I became a director, I love watching movies. I love reading about directors, and my first idol as a director is David Lin.
Okay.
David Lin, Lost in Arabia,
Bridge on the River Kwai. Yeah.
Kwai and all that, and he's editor. And I read all the books, on him, and then he mentioned so much about the importance of understand editing, and so that's sort of like keep that in mind all the time. So the first thing is I gotta understand editing. I gotta understand why you put that two shot together. The reason you have to be sure. Why is that car chase? Why is that shot important? Why is it the speed? You know, the angle and all that. So I learned from understand editing first. How to be a director. I understand editing first.
Because I think that's the thing. I mean, like we were talking earlier about Gareth Evans from The Raid. One of the things is like, Gareth edits his own movies, and the same thing, he knows what shots he needs, and he always goes, being able to edit, I can sometimes say, okay, you know what, I can get away without this shot, or I can take something that maybe didn't go 100% right, but I know how to edit around it or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
since
all this was shot in the
Stonecutters.
Stonecutter Art.
Okay, because I mean, the first time I ever really heard about Stonecutters was just before the handover, when I know the British Army did like an inventory and realised they had more than enough. There was some great thing in the paper that they had more than enough explosives to blow up
Yeah.
Hong Kong 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I mean, because this was '86. I mean, do you think there's been such a big change in Hong Kong since then of like the style of filmmaking? I mean, this was really the prime time of Hong Kong cinema.
Yes.
I mean, I tell people, like, when I first came to Hong Kong, everything got cinema release. There was like 10 new movies a week.
Yes. Yes.
For you, do you think this was a better time because there was so much work, or was it sometimes worse because people wanted that production line feel?
I think that's the best time. Best time. All these sort of like, you got to meet the deadline, you got to meet the release day, all that force you to be creative. All that, I think, is all the pressure that force you to be creative. How do you be creative? And then subject matter. Okay, genres. Everything goes. I mean, everybody. As long as you have an idea, you can just produce it, and then you get to see it immediately. In theaters. To see whether it works or not. And for me, the '80s and is the best time of Hong Kong cinema. Because everybody have their idea, and then you get to produce the movie that you want to see.
Because I mean, was someone like Dixon Poon, was he very hands-on, or was it once he'd greenlit the project, was it very much you got to do it as you wanted?
No, he's a totally 100% businessman. I mean, he just calculate. I mean, okay, the bottom line is, okay, this is gonna cost me that much, and then the projection of the profit is this much, and then no, he's totally let the filmmaker do that stuff. You know.
Okay, because I always think that's the problem now, that it's sometimes it seems like filmmaking by committee now, that like we were talking about even for like Saving General Yang, it's
Yes.
okay, we've got to appease these elements,
Yes.
we need to have this for that to work, whereas especially because like now the China money side is so strong, it plays a bigger role than before, where you could say, you know what, this is the movie I want to make, and okay, if we have to edit it for Malaysia or something, okay, but now suddenly you've got China, for instance, playing this thing. Do you think that's now limiting some Hong Kong directors, or?
I think basically you have to understand where you're gonna show this movie, which means that what is your market. I mean, every different territory, have different sort of tastes. It's so funny. All this territory, when they look at Hollywood movie, they don't have that differences.
Because that's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I always loved when I first came to Hong Kong. You'd realise, okay, the Malaysian version is slightly different.
Yeah.
The Taiwanese version is longer.
Yeah.
The such and such version has been adjusted.
But
Or
not
like-
Hollywood movie.
Yeah, or like Korea, for instance, where they would just look at certain reels of your movie and time the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same way, like, but then you go, in Hong Kong, there's no, like, preview market screenings, whereas, like, in America, sometimes we'll do a test it with the audience.
Well, we have something like sort of like that's that test market screening, like we call like a midnight show.
Yeah.
At that time, the midnight show is an indicator whether people like it or not. The midnight show usually they're a week before,
Yeah.
the weekend before the general release.
Because that was the thing, I mean, with the midnight show, you'd sometimes see a little bit of change, but there wasn't really enough time for you to do reshoots or whatever, whereas in Hollywood, there's always those projects where they'll do a test screening and then it will disappear for several months while they rework it.
Yes, yeah. Usually the midnight show, all you can do is just to trim it to make it shorter, or take out, if somebody hate the actor, just trim it out.
Now, I mean, for this movie, what was the response in Hong Kong when it came out? Was it a very positive response, or do you think people were expecting a very martial arts styled movie, or?
I think people were a bit disappointed because everybody thought it's gonna be like like my early expectation, like a martial art, like full on
Yeah.
martial art fight. I think people would a little bit disappointed. This is just an action-packed movie rather than like a martial art kung fu movie.
Because, I mean, it's a movie that did very well internationally. I mean, it was one of the first Hong Kong movies I remember seeing that pretty much every country I went to had it. England had it, Germany had it, America had it. It seemed almost like you'd achieved that goal of making an American movie.
Without knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with almost like losing the Hong Kong market a little bit.
It's strange. So I mean, that is one of the things that really bugs me. I don't have the answer for it. I mean, is that a double standard for the Hong Kong audience when they look at the movie, they say, "Oh, this is not our movie. Oh, this doesn't belong to our territory."
I do sometimes find that's
Yeah.
something I've found with Hong Kong audiences. Like, there can be that kind of it's almost like a discrimination. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when Murderer came out, there were a lot of reviews that said, "Oh, if this movie was set in Japan or Thailand or Korea, we could accept it, but set in Hong Kong, we don't accept it."
Yeah.
It's,
I think another thing is because Hong Kong audience, because Brandon won't do any promotion.
Oh, okay.
He won't do not a single promotion. I mean, that's sort of like, and he walked out on a press conference.
Because I remember interviewing Chan Wei-man years ago, and he said that he'd set up a meeting with a Japanese company to do some project, and Brandon came, was very disrespectful, seemed like he wasn't interested. And Chan Wei-man said, "I wanted to hit him, I wanted to beat him up," because he said it was just,
Everybody want to beat him up.
and he said it was just that attitude of, "I don't care," not any like, okay, maybe I'll at least give you a bit of respect, but just, he said he just came across as a spoiled American kid. And I remember from Chow Man, he said he was so disappointed because Bruce Lee was one of his idols. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think the Hong Kong, because he doesn't do any PR thing, any press and all that. The audience feel stranger. It feels like he's a stranger. That who's this guy? I mean, he doesn't want to talk about. So the reason why he walked out on the press conference is one reporter asked him about his father.
I mean,
A question about his father, and then he just stand up and walk away.
I mean that's the thing. I mean, Hong Kong press can be the worst paparazzi at times, but it's like you're Bruce Lee's son. It's like there's a friend of mine is writing a book about Bruce Lee at the moment, and he just had that conversation with Shannon Lee where she asked him, well, are you going to talk about my father's death? And he said, well, I have to. I can't just end the book without discussing what happened.
Yeah. But later on, after this movie, and then me and Brandon get to be good friends. We always like talk on the phone and all that. It's like after this journey, then he sort of like come to terms. Then he realized, So I think he feel a lot easier.
Well, I think it's like we were saying, that's when he was so young. He came out here and there was communication, there's all the pressure, and suddenly you've got no one to hide behind. It's
Right. Right.
And then he went back to America and suddenly he realized the Bruce Lee name will open doors
Yes.
if applied the right way.
Yes. Yes. And plus the fact that this is his first movie.
Yeah.
His first movie. And
Because I mean, it's funny because you watch him in like Showdown Little Tokyo, in Rapid Fire, in The Crow. There's such a Hong Kong influence, and he was so openly speaking about how much Hong Kong films meant to him. And I remember talking to him before he passed away, and he said, he wanted to come back to Hong Kong to kind of repair some bridges. 'Cause I think even he realised that he just rubbed a lot of people the wrong way.
yes, this is life.
Yeah.
You have to go through that process.
Now, I mean, with the film, I mean, looking at it now, I mean, where do you think Brandon Lee would have done with his career if he hadn't passed away? I mean, do you think...
I think he would be a superstar. I think because I remember he told me about, The Crow.
Yeah.
And I thought it's fantastic. I think that would really, put him in the map. Not just put him in the map, but give him the recognition and as an action star.
Yeah.
A young, cool-looking guy, right? And I mean, just sad, sad.
I mean, it's like we said, I mean, it's scary that you realise it's 20 years now. And it's like we said, he'd be 48 now.
Yeah.
And you do think his career would be...
Yeah, I think because like I said earlier, because he has come to terms with him being a Bruce's son, and after as soon as he crossed that bridge, break down that barrier, and he's a good actor. I mean, he's a good actor, he has a good instinct, and as soon as he said, okay, I accept that I need to be an action star. Yeah, he'll be a great action star. He's good looking. Girls like him.
Yeah. Now, I mean, how did Michael Wong and Brandon Lee get along? And how did you find working with Michael?
They're almost the same age.
Yeah.
That helps. They're almost same age, and they hang out. And then Michael's from San Francisco. So there are a lot of things in common in terms of like cultural thing. Like, all the American thing, they hang out together, after shoot and all that. So that I think they're very comfortable with each other.
Because I always thought this is one of Michael Wong's better roles. I mean, it sounds horrible, but he makes a great, good-looking bad guy that you can't trust. Yeah, he says he's your friend, but he'll betray you. But he does the character so well. I mean, but he's another one who too often seems to be, if he's got the right direction or the right project, he can deliver. But in so many movies, he's sort of going through the motions. Yeah. But this was, I mean, I love the fact like this. It's this cool wasteland. It's not a Hong Kong I'd ever seen before. Hong Kong before had been kung fu movies or the city, but you were showing there's all these different aspects to it.
Yes, it was terrible shooting here. So stinks. It stinks like, and
Because it was a real rubber stamp.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and then the sting, getting to your clothes and
Now,
but you see, Brandon, he doesn't mind that.
yeah,
I mean, this type of location doesn't matter how dirty or he doesn't mind it. Like even for like stunts,
yeah,
like falling off cars, and later on coming up with the chicken. The chicken
chicken
shed,
farm, yeah.
a shootout, and he does everything himself, all
Yeah.
the stunt, all the crashing through the window, and he doesn't mind that. He doesn't mind that. But the moment you have him do a hand-to-hand combat, then he almost like freeze up. He almost like,
I think it's weird because I remember, like, Jackie Chan's son has said similar things, that he goes, as soon as I do anything physical, I'm compared to my dad.
yes.
And he said, and there'll always be someone saying, oh, well, your kick's not as good as your dad, or this. And especially with Bruce Lee, that, like we said, he never got any older. So
Yes.
you never saw Bruce slow down. A friend of mine summed up, we never got to see Bruce do the Fat Elvis movies. Yeah, we never got to see the bad side of Bruce Lee's career.
Yeah.
We only, everyone's like, Bruce Lee died at the pinnacle. Yeah.
Yeah. I think now looking back, I must confess that if I'm more mature and more sort of like age, I probably would sort of like ask the stunt choreographer to come up with a style,
Yeah.
a unique style, a Brandon Lee style. You know what I mean? Like a Wing Chun or whatever. Just a particular unique style for him to make it feel comfortable. Because I remember when they trained him before the fight, a lot of the moves really resemble Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I think that's a big mistake. Maybe so that it add more oil
Yeah.
into the fight.
Because I mean,
you know
that's
what I mean?
if you look at his American movies, his fighting style is very Jackie Chan style. Whereas, I guess you're right that people were trying to make him, well, he's Bruce Lee's son. He should fight Bruce Lee style.
Yeah. So I so something if I, because at that time I'm not making excuse myself. I think because I'm under so much pressure to deliver the movie, and then I said, oh my God, the leading actor is a martial artist. People expect to see martial arts film and doesn't want to have a fist fight. What I'm gonna do? So your mind, not that objective.
Because I mean, it's funny because you think, like, when we did Fearless, we had that lengthy production time where we could go look at all the different styles of fighting and find, okay, we'll find someone who fights this style. But you look back now and you go, in the 80s, that was the problem. You can imagine Meng Hoi or anyone going, well, he's Bruce Lee's son, so I guess he'll
Bruce
fight
Lee.
like Bruce Lee.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem.
And I mean, I remember talking to Samo about when he did the reshoots for Game of Death. And he said part of the problem was as well, he was having to shoot Bruce Lee style action, but he had to shoot 1973 Bruce Lee style action. He was like, Samo said, my style of choreography had progressed, but I had to make sure the new choreography matched with the old stuff. And he said, there were so many moves that Bruce Lee could do that worked as Bruce Lee because they're so iconic that as soon as anyone else does them, they don't look right.
Right.
And like you said, maybe exactly a very Wing Chun style, or like we talked about before, like with Taken, you suddenly have that style where
Something that would surprise the audience. Something that the audience. I'm sure audience that when you say, okay, this is Jackie Chan's son or this is Bruce Lee's son, right? They probably immediately want, okay, give me the memory of your father.
exactly. I want to see the nunchucks. I want to see.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you were just what, mid-30s when you were directing this, or early 30s?
Yeah, very early.
Yeah.
Yeah, late. Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking. I mean, it's your first real action movie. Yeah, I love this set. I always love this.
This is set. Yeah, inside with builders.
I mean, he looks so young and slim there. The late Sing Fo Young. Yeah.
Everybody's young.
Yeah.
Everybody's young.
I always thought he was a great character off screen as well as on. I mean,
It's a great character.
We
Rough,
yeah.
raw.
Yeah, we used to live in the same village in Saikogits, yeah. And then, of course, the classic old Kai-Tak airport.
Yeah.
I mean, do you find that sometimes as well, you look back at some of the older Hong Kong movies, and it's remarkable to see how much Hong Kong has changed?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's, when you think about it, the Kai-Tak used to be exactly so easy, right in the middle of the city. I used to live in Kowloon City, 10 minutes walk from the airport. And I still miss it, 15 years later, it's still everything that's associated. When we did, even Johnny English, they use a shot of the old airport, because even the director was like, but that's what people associate with Hong Kong. The plane landing in the middle of the city, yeah.
That's movie magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Huh?
But it's, So, I mean, was there anything in this movie that you had to... they wouldn't let you do, was there anything you had to cut for the censors, or were there any ideas that people
Oh,
just
yes. The ending, the shootout in the ending. We have some problem with the censor. The censor thing is too bloody, too violent. So we have to fight, and I'll take out a few frames from here and there.
Because I think there was no Category 3 rating then, and it's...
No, at that time, it's just the censor. His idea thing. Oh, you are too violent over here, and too much blood, So
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny because now you look at it and it's very acceptable. It's like we were saying, if you look at say Taken 2, there's so much violence, but it's a PG-13.
yes,
It's
as long as you don't see blood.
yeah, and I think that's the thing in this. It sounds bad, but one of the things I liked was when people get shot, they bleed.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Brandon in the end, you can see what he's gone through to get to the ending.
Yeah.
Now, doing the car stunts was a Blackie Cole or Salone,
Yeah, black.
Or Salone,
Suha,
Suha,
the actor.
Now, I mean,
he's crazy. Yeah, crazy.
Because I mean, he jumped the Great Wall. He just
Yeah.
How was he to work with? Was he really
great?
Yeah,
great. He's crazy. That's what I like, because he would try anything. I told him, I said, can we push the envelope a little bit? Let's have real people, in the car, rather than put dummies. And he would do it. He would do it with, of course, sometimes, he would say, hey, Ronnie, no, it's too dangerous,
So I mean,
so all these pyrotechnic, all the explosions, this is real. There's no enhancement or nothing.
Now, I mean, that's the thing. So for something like this scene, was it Meng Hoi and Orsa Leung working together, or was it Orsa Leung running this sequence?
I think we all.
Okay.
We all, chip in, and you see, he does all that himself.
Because that's the thing. I mean, I remember even watching it sometimes and realizing he's doing so much of stuff. But like you said, whenever it's physical action, it's quick cuts or a double. But you'll see him running around, leaping through the air, firing guns, explosions are going off. But it just nothing physical. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, nowadays you do double. Definitely you will have green screen.
Yeah.
You won't have the actor really have the explosion in the back and then jump off the cliff, right? So at those days, that was Brandon. I mean, he just,
Because I mean, it's great. I mean, you've got Ken Lo there, and it's funny because it's such. What I like is the action is brutal. I mean, I think I was saying, although you hadn't created a unique Brandon Lee style, even if it was by accident, you guys did create a very different style to most Hong Kong movies. Even the gunplay is stylish, but it's not John Woo romantic stylish, and your martial arts is brutal as opposed to very stylized.
Raw.
Yeah, I mean, you can believe people could do this. It's not I'm going to stand there and demonstrate the classical beauty. Now, this scene I do love. I just love the dialogue in Cantonese when Meng Hoi just unveils that he just has a few guns. Yeah. But I mean, it's...
a bit over the top. Look at his collection. It's just everything. Yeah.
But what I like is that you have that payoff shot of Brandon. Which I think makes it work, that there's no Brandon being caught. He always dismisses him, Now, how did Brandon prepare? Did you have him go out and shoot a lot of guns? Or?
Yes. We shot a lot of practicing, And see, all these are from England. You know, at
Yeah.
that time in Hong Kong, you know, it's very limited. You can get like so powerful guns, you know, as a prop guns. You know?
Yeah.
So all this, you know, is from London.
I mean, I love the imagery there
Yeah.
with the Spaz 12 shotgun, the Uzi, then the pistol, you know. But I mean, was there anything that you really wanted to put into the film that they wouldn't let you do? Was there anything, any sequence or something that you really wanted that just you couldn't make work or...
Basically, I really, really want to see him sort of fight kung fu.
Yeah.
You know, but that is something that he won't do. You know, that is the I mean, if you ask me any regrets that I have, that would be the one that, you know, I if I can convince him to have at least like, you know, a 3 minute sort of like hand-to-hand fight.
Because I love the brutal ending with him and Michael Wong, but...
But that is all like, you know, gunfire. You
Yeah.
know, sort of like compensate for that.
And like
rather
even
than,
when he fights Daisaw, it's very brutal, but it's him being thrown around. It's not...
Yeah. Yeah.
Although there's moments I love when he does the punch and the guy's hanging on his fist. You know. So this was all out in Saigon.
All on cycle. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's scary as well to realize how much of this is all developed now. It's, you know... And I just love the fact you can see these are... It's real, and there was a big explosion.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah. But I mean, back then, did you have to get permits, or was it still guerrilla style getting away with stuff?
No. All these have to do permit because Alan won't do it. I mean, the pyrotechnic guy
Yeah.
won't do like, you know, a guerrilla thing because he said everything need to plan out. He need
Yeah.
to plan out. So all the explosive have to be sort of planned, you know, about like all this,
Yeah.
you know, and we need permission because we need to block off the road.
Yeah.
You know, because
And also because it's an extended scene. It's not like one shot, then run away.
No, and because all those gasoline and explosive and all that.
But it's it's such a cool sequence. I mean, it really does hold up. I mean, and I just love that, you know, Brandon driving with his foot, them up in there, you know.
This is Brandon's idea.
Okay.
This was Brandon's idea. He said, I wonder if I can steer the car with my foot. I said, good idea. Let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, but that's what I think is so good about Hong Kong. Especially back then, you could try those ideas and you could
Yeah.
could do it. Whereas sometimes, you know that in America, I mean, we've got to send this to the board and
Yeah.
see if they
Yeah.
believe it's a workable situation. Now, I mean, for something like this, how much of it was Brandon and Mung Hoi really doing it? Or, you know, like for the car stuff or...
A lot of it he actually is them.
Okay. I mean, it's... Yeah, were there any... I mean, I love the fact you've got... suddenly there's a mechanical digger. Yeah, and it's just... And I love the bad guys. And whose idea was it with the head? The face? Because I love that. I just thought that was such a cool...
That was my idea.
And whose face is it? Is it because I've never been able to make out if it's meant to be Michael Wong's or Chan Wei Man's face or something.
It's supposed to be Chan Wei Man.
Okay. Because I always wondered.
It's supposed to be Chan Wei Man's face.
Okay.
Because it's so egoistic.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like this what do you call the Daigo?
Yeah.
Big
That's
brother.
what I mean. It works so well as
Yeah,
the
sort of.
that he's so much in love with himself. that
Yes.
it's,
Yes.
And I love all the communication in this scene between the two of them. And that's why I think it's funny, like you've said, that they didn't really get along that well, but on the screen, it's such a believable friendship between the two of them.
Again, movie magic.
Yeah.
And editing.
Yeah. And I mean, and I just love the way you guys are gradually destroying the whole house.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the idea. That was my first idea. I said, at the end of the day, I want the whole house gone. Almost.
So, I mean, was this a set or was it...
Both.
Okay.
Some on location, built on location, and then some on set.
And I mean, and for how long were you shooting, I mean, for the finale? I mean...
I think this was a week.
Okay.
This is a week.
I mean, it's remarkable because you think, like, how long this would take to shoot in Hollywood.
A week without sleep.
Wow. No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I still remember on Fearless when we did that last day of, like, 30-something hours.
Yeah.
But you go, that was one day, but I guess this was sometimes you'd be doing 3 or 4 days in a row, and Yeah, because there's no union, there's no...
no.
Yeah. And I always tell
And
people...
this is totally Scarface.
Yeah.
That's the inspiration from
But
this.
that's something I always, on that moment where he does the father, the son, and was that your idea?
Yeah.
Or... Because that's just so cool. It's... And I love the fact that they're working through their guns. They don't even reload. It's just throw the gun away, get the next one out.
Larger than life.
Yeah. I always thought it's actually cooler than the John Woo hiding the guns in the flower pots. I just like they've come in with so many guns.
That was a classic. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, do you find it ironic that for something like a movie like this, there's so much pyrotechnics and so much the squibs are big, you're firing full loads, but like, was anyone badly hurt on the shooting of this, or?
No, we're lucky, because I got a kick out of this all this, like, gunshots, the sound of it, the smell of the explosion, or that, it's so exciting,
Because I mean, did you do this as one unit, or did you use it as a second unit, or were you very much there to keep an eye on things?
This one actually we do it in one unit.
Okay.
This scene we do it in one unit. Only the Stonecutter Island, we have to do
2 units.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. But I mean,
And the car
Yeah.
we have to split.
okay.
Because sometimes the car is not ready, sometimes ready.
Because it's just, that's what I like about the ending of this film is the action works. It doesn't suddenly go over the top where you can feel like, oh, maybe Ronnie wasn't there and the action director took over. But I just love the brutality. It sounds right. I just love the brutality of here.
No, this is totally. I love this. This is totally me. I gotta be there.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that moment. And then he keeps walking. That's the bit that it's just. And then this with Dinosaur.
But that one, I remember when we does that, it's sort of like everybody sort of like questioned me that, is it too exaggerated? I said no, because it's rage. This is a story about legacy of rage. I mean, he has so much rage, because of his girlfriend and all that, and he just need to release all that.
Because that's what I love. That it's
all this like raw
yeah
violence, like
you've built up to that you can feel that it's not the first punch he ever did, but it's like he's just shot his way through. His girlfriend's been killed.
Yes.
His life's been destroyed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Payback time.
So it's I mean, with this, did Brandon enjoy doing all the gunplay, or
100%.
I mean, it's such a cool. I mean, it's just such a cool movie. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can't stop being a fanboy on this, but this is still a movie that, from the first time I saw it in Chinese cinema in England to now, it's still one of those movies that works so well. It still holds up, and I just love the way. And you've got melodrama, but without it being cheesy. She doesn't live, and there's no, he doesn't give her a passionate kiss with all the blood. It's, it's, you had elements, but you didn't fall into the cheese area. It's, and like with that, it's like I can see, I mean, that if him and Michael Wong could have had a mano to mano.
This is, I remember this whole ending thing, like sort of like we all sit together on the set, and then we try to figure out, how should we do this? How do we do this? So.
Because that's what I was going to say. I mean, did you come into the ending knowing this would be the ending of it, or was it for like this final confrontation?
I know the spirit of the ending. I said, this is payback. This is so much raw. It's like to man to man.
It's
like,
brother. It's Cain versus Abel.
Yeah. This is like, okay, I need you to pay.
Yeah.
And the other guys is no way. I'm not gonna. So that spirit is there. That concept is there.
Because this, I love.
Yeah. I remember this time. We're running out of time. There was another lengthy shootout before we come to this, and then we sort of like run out of time. We have finished the film, so and then I come over this. Okay, just shoot the bugger.
Yeah. But I just love when he flicks the blood on him.
Yeah.
Yes. That's when you know it's going to be the brutal payback, because it's just such a moment when it's.
Yes. I remember I told Brandon, why don't you let him taste your blood? Let him taste your blood. And then he just said, okay, good.
Because one of my friends, it's the Bruce Lee moment without being a Bruce Lee moment. Yeah, instead of him tasting his own blood, it's the throwing it in the thing. Now, this I always thought was interesting that you have this moment with the photos. Was this what made you decide to do this as a photo moment and then go back to?
It's almost like, I just had the thought that, this should be almost like a memory.
Yeah.
Where you look over your photo book.
Yeah.
Rather than like really have shoot it like a real, sort of like, going down, shake hand, blah, blah, blah. Almost like a photo book, for album.
Okay.
It's just sort of like,
Now,
you see, this is real Brandon. You see that leather jacket?
that's him.
That's him.
Okay.
That's him. That's him. He ride a big
Harley Davidson.
Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Now, was there ever plans like to do another film with Brandon or to do a Legacy of Rage 2 or?
Yes, there was, obviously there's talk about maybe, try to convince him to do more martial art. Yeah, there was talk, but nothing really sort of materialized.
Because that was the thing. I mean, was it he signed to Poon Dixon for just one movie, or was it originally meant to be a multi-picture?
If my memory correct, I think they were supposed to do 2 movies. Yeah, I think they were supposed to sign for two movies.
Because I always remember Donnie Yen telling me that when he first signed with D&B, they said that one of the projects could be, like him and Brandon Lee together.
Oh, is that right?
And he said that he was all excited about that, and then it just never happened. But I said, thank you very much for being with us, Ronnie. It's been great to revisit this movie.
Thank you for bringing all this memory back.
Yeah. But I said, I mean, as I said, it's a movie that still holds up, and I think it's strange that Brandon Lee did his one non-martial arts movie in Hong Kong.
I know.
Yeah, he did his martial arts movies in America, but his Hong Kong movie is unique. That it's a gunplay, it's a character-driven.
Yes. It's looking back, it's really. I mean, it's an honor. It's an honor that I get a chance, even though, I don't know. It's almost like accident. I think this movie gets sort of completed, and it's just because you gotta change your plan almost every day. I almost had to change a plan every day.
I always used to love that at the end of D&B films.
D&B always had their product.